There's a version of love you remember, the kind that arrived without warning, the kind that rearranged your entire week around one text message, the kind that felt like static in your chest, constant, electric, impossible to ignore. And then something shifted. Not dramatically, not all at once, but somewhere after 30, love started feeling different, quieter, heavier, more considered. And a part of you has been quietly wondering, did something break inside me? Or did love itself change? Neither. What changed was you. And that's actually the most interesting thing about all of this. You are not broken. You are not closed off. You are not incapable of feeling deeply. If anything, you feel more times now, just differently. The way a river feels more when it stops flooding and starts flowing. There's more depth in the calm than there ever was in the chaos. Your brain has been quietly doing its job, and once you understand what that job is, everything starts to make a strange kind of sense. Before 30, love was largely a neurological event. Dopamine surges, cortisol spikes, oxytocin flooding systems that hadn't yet learned to question what they were feeling. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for long-term thinking, consequence assessment, and emotional regulation, wasn't fully online yet. Neuroscience tells us this region doesn't fully mature until the mid to late 20s, which means, for most of your early romantic life, you were falling in love with a brain that was still learning how to evaluate risk. That's not a flaw, that's design. Early love was supposed to be intense. It was supposed to overwhelm logic. It was how you bonded quickly, explored identity, and learned what you needed from another person. The butterflies weren't irrational. They were information delivered in the only language your nervous system knew at the time. But after 30, the prefrontal cortex is fully present at the table, and it has time's opinions. Here's the part nobody tells you. The brain you carry now is not better at love. It's better at times evaluating times love. And those two things feel completely different from the inside. When you meet someone now, something in you is already running calculations you aren't consciously aware of. Not cold calculations, human ones. Does this person's life fit inside mine? Do I feel safe or just excited? Is this sustainable or just stimulating? Your nervous system has been in situations before. It remembers. And memory changes everything. Emotional memory is one of the quietest forces in adult relationships. Every heartbreak you've experienced, every relationship that ended badly, every time you ignored a red flag because the feeling was too good, your nervous system filed all of it away, not as stories, as time's patterns. And now, without you even asking, it scans new people for those patterns the moment you meet them. This is why a small thing, a tone of voice, a way someone dismisses your feelings, a familiar kind of silence can feel disproportionately large. It's not an overreaction, it's recognition. Your nervous system knows this shape. It has seen it before. And then there's time. After 30, time starts feeling different, not slower. More times waited. There's a quiet awareness, sometimes spoken, often not that the window for certain things is narrowing. Not in a panicked way necessarily, but in the way that makes you stop and actually ask, is this what I want to spend my time on? This is especially true in the United States, where the cultural pressure around timelines is unusually loud. The career clock, the relationship clock, the social media version of your life, constantly curated and compared. Dating apps that gamify connection until it feels like online shopping. A cultural script that says you should be building something by now even as the definition of something keeps changing. In this environment, love after 30 becomes more evaluative by necessity. Not because you've become cold, because your sense of your own time has sharpened. You're not just asking, do I like this person? You're asking, does this person fit into a life I'm actually trying to live? That's not cynicism, that's consciousness. But here's where it gets interesting. A lot of people in their 30s mistake this shift for detachment. They meet someone good, genuinely good, and feel calm. No racing heart, no obsessive checking of their phone, no vertigo. And they panic. They think, maybe I don't feel enough. Maybe I'm too guarded. Maybe I've forgotten how to love. What they've actually done is stop confusing anxiety with passion. Early love often felt electric because it was times uncertain. Uncertainty activates the stress response. Cortisol rises. Attention narrows. You become hypervigilant to signs and signals. That hypervigilance felt like passion because it had all the same physical qualities: racing thoughts, heightened focus, a constant low-level urgency. But it wasn't always love. Sometimes it was fear wearing love's clothes. After 30, when you feel calm with someone, it can feel like absence, like something's missing. But what's actually missing is the anxiety. The nervous system has learned, slowly and painfully, that chaos is not the same as connection. That intensity is not the same as intimacy. That butterflies might just be a stress response, and peace might be the truest thing you've ever felt. There's also something deeper happening in how attachment patterns become more visible with age. Whatever style of attachment you developed in childhood, the way you learn to connect with or protect yourself from caregivers doesn't disappear. It evolves. It becomes more articulated. By your 30s, you often know yourself well enough to see your own patterns clearly. The way you pull away when things get too close. The way you over-explain yourself when you feel threatened. The way you test people, sometimes without meaning to, and you're less willing to perform around them. Younger love often involved shape-shifting, becoming what you thought the other person needed, suppressing wants, absorbing incompatibilities. After 30, that tolerance for self-erasure shrinks not because you've become rigid, but because you've spent enough years living as yourself to value that self. You know what it costs to disappear inside someone else. This is also why boundaries feel different now. They're not walls. They're the result of having learned, at some point, what happens when you don't have them. Think of it like a blanket you've had for years. When you were young, you didn't think about it. You just needed warmth. You grabbed whatever was closest, whatever felt good in the moment. Now, you know which blankets actually keep you warm through the night. You know which ones look beautiful but leave you cold by 3 a.m. You still want warmth. You've just stopped settling for the appearance of it. Love after 30 is not a downgrade. It is not the slow death of romance. It is love reorganizing itself around something more durable than feeling, around familiarity, around chosen presence, around the kind of safety that doesn't need to be performed. You've probably noticed, too, how your emotional vocabulary has expanded. A decade ago, you might have described a relationship as good or hard and left it there. Now you have language, whether from therapy, from reading, from honest conversations with friends who've been through things, that lets you locate yourself more precisely inside your own emotional life. You know what dysregulation feels like. You recognize avoidance when it shows up. You understand, on some level, that what you want from a partner is not just love, but times co-regulation. Someone whose nervous system can sit beside yours without making it worse. That is not a small thing to know about yourself. So if love feels quieter now, if it feels more deliberate, if the falling happens more slowly and the questions come faster, that is not evidence that something has been lost. That is evidence that you have arrived somewhere. You've arrived at a version of love that asks more of the other person, yes, but also one that asks more of you. More honesty, more patience, more willingness to stay present instead of running toward the next feeling. Love after 30 is not passive. It is chosen, again and again, without the neurological fireworks to make that choice easy. And there is something quietly extraordinary about that. You don't fall blindly anymore. You fall consciously. And consciousness feels quieter than chaos, but it runs so much deeper. You're not harder to love. You're just clearer about what love actually is. And that clarity, however it arrived, However many difficult nights it cost you to find that is yours, entirely yours.